So, thanks everybody for coming. Please be sure to pick up the handouts if you don't already have them. I think the Pro Day schedule is also out there. And we'll have a few opening comments, then we'll take your questions. And remember, no live streaming. Thanks.
Thanks, Claude. Sorry running behind, guys. Claude made me change clothes, so it's his fault. So our background was not proper. I'm glad he's here to fix me and get us corrected. I'm excited, obviously, to get started this spring practice. I've learned a saying a long time ago: change is inevitable, but growth is optional. And I think that's a great mantra for this team. Everybody wants to talk about the guys that left, and I'm certainly excited about those guys getting their last chance to showcase tomorrow at our Pro Day. But, you know, you don't replace a Roquan Smith. You don't replace a Nick Chubb, a Sonny Michel. You don't replace any of those guys, because there's not going to be another Roquan Smith. There's not going to be a guy exactly like him. So each one of our players has to create an identity for themselves. This team has to create a new identity for itself. And I think every time you change one player or 10 players or 25 players on a team, the team changes. And there's a lot of questions about this team. And that's what I'm excited about, the challenge of finding the personalities on this team that will lead the right way, the personalities on this team that will challenge the other guys. A lot of that has already started in the off-season program. Guys challenging each other, pushing each other, and we're not going to get where we want to go if we don't have great leadership. I can promise you that. And that's the biggest question about this team, is who are going to be the leaders? Who are going to be the guys that demand a lot of each other? It's not talent alone. You don't win the SEC, you don't play in the Rose Bowl with talent alone. You got to have great leadership, and that's where we've got to really improve. We've had some guys add some weight. We've had some guys lose some weight, and probably more of the losing than the adding. And I'm excited to see where they are and let them go out and do some things without coaches standing over. We have had the luxury of being able to walk through more this off season than we've ever done. With new NCAA rules, has allowed us to walk through. And I think the last group that was here started and kind of created a new standard, and now it's a matter of whether this new group can withhold that standard and hold people to the same level of excellence that we want to have. We're excited, again, going into the spring. We'll have a lot of position battles. I'm sure you guys got 1,000 questions that you want to ask. But for me, there's competition in every position. You know that, and we talk about it all the time. Our kids in this room know that. There'll be changes on the depth chart throughout. There'll be tough competitions. What we're trying to do is get every guy on our team to play better. It's not about who we play next year. Right now, we're worried about us. A couple off-season injury notes, just to mention. Both Sean Fogarty and Justin Schaefer will be out for spring with knee surgeries for the off-season. They're fine. They'll be back in full go, but they will not be out. They will not be out there practicing for the spring. Obviously, Zamir White having the ACL surgery, he will not be out there performing in the spring. He's progressing very well. He'll be able to do some things, walk through and moving around, but he won't be in full contact drills. And we're excited about those guys getting back out there to help us, but they won't be available for spring practice. With that, I'll open it up for questions and let y'all kind of lead where you want to go.
Coach, I just want to start off asking about your assistant coach and some new roles, some guys we playing, particularly Coach Coley going from wide receiver coach, quarterbacks coach, and adding a offensive coordinator title. Kind of what went into thinking with that?
Yeah, I think Coach's done a tremendous job for us as a coach. He did a tremendous job with the receivers, very knowledgeable. He's been a coordinator before. He's worked with quarterbacks. He's had success working with quarterbacks in his history, and that's something I thought was a good move for our program. So he'll be co-offensive coordinator. He'll work with the quarterbacks. Cortez Hankton, who we hired, will be working with our receivers. Coach Chaney will continue to be the offensive coordinator, call the plays, and he'll also be working with the tight end position. So none of that's really changed. For us, the ability to add the 10th coach and have Scott Fountain working with our special teams excites me. You know, Scott did a tremendous job last year working with our coaches and helping us in that regard, and brought us some kind of momentum plays in special teams. So with that change, I think defensively the only change we have obviously is Coach Lanning, which I've worked with him before, so there's less change there. A little more change on the offensive side, but it's really more of an input and everybody working together and pulling in the same direction.
Coach, I was going to ask you about the offensive staff as well. So I'll ask you that, and then I'll ask this. Just, do you feel like there's any level of risk on that? Obviously, you guys did a good job offensively last year to shuffle things up. It was just a matter of trying to make all the pieces fit. And secondly, I just want to see if you, what you've seen from Justin Fields, what your observations have been in so far.
Yeah, level of risk. I think if you continue to do the same thing you've always done, you'll get the same results, usually guaranteed. And we're always trying to get better. I'm not accepting and saying where we were is good enough by any means. I think that you can always look at yourself and say, how can I improve? I think we improved our staff tremendously by retaining one of our best recruiters and best coaches in James Coley, while also bringing a unbelievable personality and great background in Cortez Hankton, who's coached in our league, knows our league, has recruited in our league, and all we want to do is make our staff better. And that's the ultimate goal, is to improve each year, and that's what I think we've been able to do. So I'm excited about that. As far as Justin Fields, he's done a tremendous job in the off-season workouts. He is a competitor. He competes every day. He's first in line, trying to compete with every guy at his position. From a football standpoint, we hadn't been able to see a whole lot because we hadn't been able to do a whole lot. But he's a very bright kid, and I'm excited to go see him practice.
Kirby, I wanted to ask you about Sam Madden. He's a guy that we haven't talked about much, and is he still with you guys? There's been kind of some fodder that he might have decided to move on, and I wanted to check see if he was still with the team, and also wanted to check on David Marshall. I know I saw him personally earlier this spring, and he seemed to be kind of dealing with an injury as well.
Yeah, David's got a thumb injury he had surgery with, but he should be casted up, ready to go. As far as Sam goes, as far as I know right now, Sam's still with the team.
Coach, what's your approach on this season after ending the season the way you did last year?
I think the biggest thing is what I talked about in the beginning is that change is inevitable, but growth is optional. So, as much as I hate to say it, and don't take it the wrong way, you guys make our job really hard as coaches by telling us how good we are, or how good we should be. And these kids have a very loyal, ambitious, hungry fan base that pats them on the back every day. And I think our job is to bring the reality that there very simply could have not been a national championship game. If we don't have the things happen in the second half against Oklahoma, we never get that opportunity. So they have to understand that we can improve in a lot of areas, and they have to have the almost maturity level to now deal with a different side of things, where everybody's talking about what you should do this year. Well, if you don't come with the same hunger, we've learned two things. There's a 2016 season, there's a 2017 season. There wasn't a whole lot of difference in the people on the roster in those two situations, but the outcomes were completely different. Why was that? Did we have an influx of talent all of a sudden in 2017, or did we have a different demeanor? Did we have a different attitude? Did we have a chip on our shoulder? So what's going to be your motivating factor? And I think that each team is very different. My concern for this team is not understanding that they are going to be the target for everyone they play. We're not going to sit back and let people hunt us. We're going to continue to hunt. We're an aggressive team. That's what we want to be, and we're trying to grow as a team and get better. I think they'll embrace that challenge. We've got some good leaders on this team. They just got to learn how to step up and be vocal.
When you talk about having the hunger, keeping it going with Justin right on Jake's toes, how do you think that will impact him? And what for year two for Jake Fromm, how do you what areas are you looking to see improvement?
Well, I think everybody can improve. I think the fact that Justin and Jake are competing is no different than every guy on our team. We got about 4 or 5 spots in the secondary that are wide open for 12 guys. So why should that be different? We got guards and centers that are all competing, tackles. So none of that ever changes. That's what this program's built on. It's built on you go out every day to perform to the best of your ability. And if I don't think, or the staff doesn't think you're performing to the best of your ability, then we call you out, we call you in, and we tell you that you got to do better. And I think every kid has kind of embraced that. Through the leaders we had last year, they understood that if I don't perform, there's another guy behind me that's going to push me. And that's what we want. We want it to be that way.
Hey Kirby, you mentioned the leadership, but is there anyone in particular that you've been impressed with over the course of the offseason that's stepped up to be more of a leader that maybe wasn't in that role last season?
Well, I think the most common thing would be to say, okay, what seniors, what guys played last year? I think Lamont's done a good job. I think he's got to continue to do that. Terry has been a very quiet, lead by example, works hard every day. I mean, the guy's a hard worker and people follow him. I think offensively we've got more guys in those roles than maybe defensively. I think Ledbetter's done a good job stepping up, encouraging guys, being positive and giving positive reinforcement. DeAndre Walker's trying to take on more of that role. But I think that's really where we're at now is like, it's time to go out on the field and actually find out when adversity hits and you have pads on, you have helmet on, and you're tired, and it's not just an off-season conditioning program. How are you going to respond, and how are you going to help the other guys around you? We need as much of that as we can get.
Kirby, I guess just quick status updates on the Trez and D'Angelo. And the Trez, I saw he was a student athlete a couple weeks ago. Is he like going in the right direction? Things seem to be going pretty well for him.
Yeah, you know, Trez came back to the national championship game. He was able to join us. He's done everything we've asked, and he's working hard on and off the field. Been very pleased with his ability to come back and overcome some hurdles in his life. And then D'Angelo Gibbs, he had left shoulder surgery, and we had to address an injury that was there. He's doing very well with rehab, and we anticipate a full return for him in the fall. But again, excited about both those guys.
Coach, underneath this is line following up on Jonathan Ledbetter. What do you see from him in terms of strides this offseason, both in his skill set and in his leadership as well?
Now, with skill set, I don't get to see quite as much. His work ethic I've seen grow. I think he's gotten stronger in the weight room. You know, I thought that Coach Sinclair and his staff, the weight staff we had, has done an outstanding job getting our team bigger, stronger, faster. When you look at the strength gains, which sometimes are hard to measure, and everybody can say they bench more, they squat more, they power clean more. He does a really good job of harnessing that and not putting him at risk of injury through single rep maxes. He does a really good job protecting us there, but Ledbetter's gone up in that regard. We've had some guys that we thought needed to gain some weight that did, and then we got a lot of guys that we thought needed to lose some weight, and they've done that as well. But Ledbetter's one of those guys that really pushes the limit, and he pushes himself hard, and been pleased with where he's at.
A little bit further on Jonathan. Not so long ago, I mean, he had a tough, his life was tough. Where is his life right now compared to what it was 2 years ago?
Well, I certainly feel like he's in a good place. I mean, he's become a vocal leader on our team. He's a guy that when he speaks, people listen. They listen to people who've had hard times and fell on hard times. He can speak on an experience that not all of our players can speak on. So he's been through some really tough times, and he's certainly changed the narrative on his story to this point. And I think how this season goes and how his finishing up of his Bulldog career goes will speak volumes to who he is as a person, and he can have a great impact on this team because of his leadership role and because of some of the trials and tribulations he's been through. He can speak on it and speak from experience.
Kirby, you talk about trying to kind of tamp down the expectations somewhat, or at least, you know, the hype around this team. Can also the way the season ended and coming so close, can that be a motivation, and are you using that to kind of build a fire in this team that, you know, one play away really from winning it all last year?
Yeah, I think that team is that team, and we kind of absorb that and embrace that. And to start with your first statement, I don't think that I can put down those expectations. That the expectations are what they are at the University of Georgia. The expectation is to win every game you play. Why should it be any different? So we want to create that brand that we expect to go out and dominate our opponent. That's what we thrive to do. That's why we go and lift weights. That's why we go and run. We want to dominate every opponent. That's our goal, is to go out and dominate our opponent. It's not about what you guys think, what the fans think. It's not about any of that. It's about what we can do to make sure that our players are playing at the highest level every week, in and week out. And that's our ultimate goal. So we're not going out there with the mantra that we were a play away, 2 plays away, because just as soon as you say that, we're a play away from not being there too. And the bottom line, this team is distinctly different than that team. So what will be the identity of this team is all I'm worried about. I'm worried about who's going to be the leaders, what are going to be the traits. Are we going to be better at getting turnovers? Are we going to be more explosive? How are we going to change offensively? Where are we going to evolve to? Those are things we got to see so we can find out where we're going. But we're certainly not sitting back patting ourselves on the back like a lot of our players are getting in the public.
How valuable is it to have Cade Mays here this spring to compete, I guess, at right tackle, and with left guard, who's competing at that spot?
Well, it's valuable to have every one of those guys. Don't you think it's valuable to have Justin Fields here and competing, and Devad Wilson, I mean, at a position we lost some like 10 DBs left. I mean, it played forever. So now we've got a guy to come in and compete. Trey Hill, I'm excited to see him compete. You know, Warren Erickson, here's a guy that's going to come in here. Kieris Jackson. I mean, every one of those guys I'm excited to have. Zamir, can he learn and get blitz pickups? Can he grow as a player without actually practicing? So I'm super excited about every one of those. There's a competition at every single position out there. So I've not singled out a position like you guys like to do and say, well, they lost these outside backers. We're going to have this great outside backer battle. We're going to have a battle at every single position. And that's called recruiting. It's called depth. I mean, I'd love nothing more than to see Warren Erickson and Trey Hill pushing Lamont Gafford. Y'all already given Lamont a starting job. I mean, every article I read, he's just going to start because he started last year. Kendall Baker, he's got his spot. So if they go out there thinking that, I would be disappointed in them. So I think if you ask them, they understand that I better be one of the best 5 or I won't be starting.
Well, to go to another position question, at running back, obviously Nick and Sony did so much for you guys. How excited are you to see DeAndre, Brian, and Elijah kind of get some spring work at that spot?
Well, the great thing is we got to see 2 of those guys get a ton of work last year in the spring, where you guys might not have got to see them get a ton of work because you saw the 2 studs out there carrying it all the time. We got to see a lot of that. So we get to see DeAndre jump into that battle, that fray with those 2. We get to find out a lot about who's going to be the competitor on special teams, who can replace 127 snaps Sony took on special teams. Because right now, none of those 3 have stepped up to the plate to say I can be as valuable a special teamer as Sony was. Nick Chubb took every single rep last spring in special teams in 2 different phases, and we didn't use him in the season because we didn't have to. But who of those 3 is going to say, I can lead this spot, I can contribute on special teams, I can do every pickup right, I can protect the ball right, and I can go out and affect the rest of the team by the energy and attitude I practice with. That's what I want to see. I want to see which one of them is going to go to class the most, which one's going to have the highest GPA. Because there's a great battle there, and we can certainly use all 3 of them, and hopefully we'll get to use Amir and James Cook as well when they're healthy and they can go.
We have time for 2 more questions.
Kirby, talk about wanting to still hunt even while having the target on your back. How would you use that mindset as coaches in spring practice this year versus last year when you're trying to elevate?
Well, we were hunting last year.
We were last year trying to get the team to have that target on your back, I guess.
Now, I'm not ever trying to get the target on my back. I don't think that's the right approach. Now, mentality-wise, we don't go around saying, let's go get this target on our back. We're target practice. It's the same thing I told you after South Carolina. Everybody's like, why in the hell would you onside kick against South Carolina? We're doing aggressive things that we think are right. So we're doing the same thing right now that we did last year. Every coach on our staff, we did a quality control of what we did well, what we did poorly. What can we improve on? We sat in here yesterday with 130 players, and we said last year on the composite special teams rankings, we were dead last. So our goal in the spring was to move. Fall camp, move. Perform on the field, we moved. We moved to composite first, second, depending on how you look at it. So now are we going to not talk about special teams anymore? No, we're trying to move up nationally. We're trying to move up. We're continuing to hunt because that's what we believe. When you play aggressive, you watch all those basketball tournaments. I watch all these basketball tournaments over and over and over. The more aggressive team wins. The team that's playing aggressive. It's not. I'm not going out here not to lose. I'm going out there to play aggressive. So we'll continue to do that by how we practice because the offense is going to go against the defense. The left guard is going to go against the right guard. The left receiver is going to go against the right cornerback, and we're going to be aggressive. We're not going to go out there to sit back and say, what is somebody else doing? We're worried about us.
Just a real quick follow-up about Zamir. I know he's obviously got a few months to go. Do you have any indication at all at what point he may be able to get on the field and fall camp, early season?
Yeah, it's hard for me to answer because I am not a doctor. I don't know. He certainly looks good right now. He's progressing along. He's maybe ahead of where we expected him to be. But to say he's going to be there fall camp ready to go, I don't know that. I mean, you guys will get to see him out there. He'll probably be doing some individual drills. You make your own assessment. Because I think that's the challenge for us is not knowing where he's going to be, and also the health of our 3 current backs coming out of spring practice.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Remind